The United States is losing on security issues, and the truly great Syngman Rhee is truly remarkable. Thanks to Syngman Rhee, we've lived without any problems for about 70 years. Since then, politicians have been using money to develop nuclear weapons and wreaking havoc. Now, even elections have collapsed, and yes, we have no respect for our ancestors. Yes, if you're thinking of Man Jung Sin Ho, you have no respect for your ancestors. The foundation of our country has been completely destroyed. Some people may not have felt it, but those who don't will eventually feel it. The foundation of our country has been completely destroyed. Isn't making a living a war? Since I only had a short salary, how many hours do you think you should invest to prepare a broadcast like this? To prepare for a broadcast like this, you need to invest 7 hours. Since the broadcast time is 2 hours, that's 9 hours. If one of you says something like that on Saturday, how many hours did you spend preparing for a 2-hour broadcast like Gong Byung-ho's history special on Saturday? Yes, it takes a tremendous amount of time. I invest more than 9 hours every day, and I have to invest separately in this history special. I'm completely prepared. My working hours aren't much different now than they were in my 30s. I'm not trying to brag, but I've only worked for 10 years. The rest is what I earned myself, which is how you all have survived. I'm completely prepared. I haven't started a huge business, but I can talk about business and its problems as deeply as I can because I understand their circumstances. That's why I talk. People can only tell stories based on their own experiences. I haven't run a big business, but I know how difficult their lives are. Because I've lived my own business and life. Yes, you Koreans have truly lived comfortable lives. The market opened up for you, and the United States also provided a market for government universities. Our neighboring country, what are you talking about? They say crazy things about Japan, but Japan, the only country in Asia that has ever had a proper dialogue, is right next door, and we benefited enormously from that. Most of our predecessors received a colonial education, so many of them had Japanese experience. So, we copied and learned from Japan: container wigs, general trading companies, steel, semiconductors, home appliances. And some Japanese, feeling sorry for us, taught us and passed on our technologies. Even ramen, wasn't it all provided by the Japanese? I'm not talking about the old saying, but we need to remember those benefits. Even now, when I see people shaking hands demanding money, I don't think they're Koreans at all, but Joseon people. They say it, but Koreans lived well. Yes. I lived well, eating well, to the point of being worthy of my blessings. My luck was beyond my capabilities. Nothing good in this world lasts forever. If you don't humble yourself and work hard, it will all disappear. If you watch the history of the Portuguese Empire that you're watching now, you'll see that it took 83 years to prepare and blossom brilliantly for 26 years. But from then on, it just kept going downhill. Income was low, and the maintenance costs for the colonies kept increasing, so it just didn't add up. Many people now think this is a given, like it's some kind of natural gift, but that's not true. Japan barely made any money as a colony. For a long time, Japan intended to rule Korea, so they invested heavily in infrastructure. Starting with the Jongbu Line, they couldn't make any money and only received a lot of criticism. Why am I bringing this up today? Yes. If you watch my broadcast, you'll notice that I often talk about the fierce competition in the market. I have a deep purpose for this. Because I want to convey the message that viewers of my broadcasts need to come to their senses and put all their effort into making a living in this fiercely competitive world. Some of you may understand my point, but many of you may be wondering why I talk about things that have nothing to do with me. To put it another way, I talk about market events to make the point that if you lose your mind, you'll just end up in trouble. You all know. Weight loss drug Wegovy. Yes, Wegovy. Yes. Wegovy, which was released by Merck in 2021, became a global hit. Then, an American pharmaceutical company called Eli Lilly and Company released a similar product. Isn't there competition going on right now? MyBound is an American product from 2023. The two companies are fiercely competing, but this one seems to be more effective after Bound's release. Yes. Merck's Wegovy product began importing into Korea in October 2023. It doesn't receive medical benefits and is an obesity treatment. The consumer price is about 400,000 won for 4 weeks, or 800,000 won for one subcutaneous injection every week. After about 12 to 16 weeks, or about 4 months, you should start to lose some weight. After about 68 weeks, you should be able to lose about 15 kilograms. I'm not sure if there are any side effects. Since it's a drug, I think there will be some side effects. Yes. As you can see here, these products are from Novo Nordisk, a highly regarded European company. They were launched in June 2021. Bound 1, launched by Lilly in December 2023. Now, this is a company whose market share continues to decline. Bound's market share continues to rise. In the US, it seems to be around $1,350 per month. Yes. Now, I didn't introduce obesity treatment to you all, but today, in just one day, the stock price of Wegovy fell 30%. It lost $93 billion in market value. Novo Nordisk, the national pride of Merck, is like Samsung Electronics in Korea. Merck. It's huge. Yes. Novo Nordisk. Everyone, the article above your side reported this story in the Wall Street Journal today. Novo Nordisk stocks, you guys, just locked up. Why is the stock price of Wegovy, the flagship obesity treatment, plummeting 30% in the US market? That's why I started looking at it. Hey, how can a stock drop 30%? What should people who own stocks do? Quote, Merck must have a ton of stocks, but Merck's Samsung Electronics is like that. It plummeted for 5 days. It's been falling for 3 days now, but it's only just recovered a little. It initially fell 30%. This Wegovy product was released in 2021, and the stock price has been on the rise. This is how things are in this world. There are ups and downs. Yeah. Stocks really don't have a lower limit. Look at the stock price. Yes, it's going up all the way. It's going to be very difficult to recover, not impossible, but this is what's happening. Even blue chip companies can go completely broke. How could a market cap of $93 billion disappear in a single day? It's a truly great company. The dividend yield is around 3%, so the stock price growth rate is good, and the 3% dividend yield left a ton of money. But this 3% dividend has wiped out an entire minute of its market cap. It was originally a company worth around $240 billion, but it's now down to around $1,800. It's incredible. This is the way the world is. To continue to lead, you need to have a spirit of leadership. Whether you're an individual or a nation, if you want to keep moving forward without falling behind, you need a spirit of leadership. A nation's spirit requires the individual's right to live. If we live in a society where people try to do something, rest, and work hard, we can't prosper. One side is desperately working hard to pass the exam, while the other side is just thinking about playing and falling behind. Isn't that why Europe and the US can't compete? The spirit is alive, this spirit, I'm talking about in a modern sense. Right now, Lee is alive. Why does Lee work? What does work mean to me? What is the basic attitude when working? What do you think? Society needs to have universal principles. Are they cheating, talking nonsense, and being a jerk? Manipulation, and this has become routine. Lee has become a faction. If it were Supreme Court justices or judges, would they only make arrogant rulings? Looking at the judiciary, you can see the entire society. They can't win. Koreans will tremble in every field and save you, the Chinese, slaves. Those people risk your lives, so I hope they implement a 4-day workweek as they wish. A 4-day workweek would be completely unacceptable. Yes, a 4-day workweek would be completely unacceptable. Look at this today. These top European companies lost 128 trillion won in a single day. Why? Yes, your growth rate is still high. Your growth rate was 13 to 21% in the past, but even if you reduce it to 8 to 14% this time, your sales will still grow at this rate. Your operating profit margin is still low, from 16 to 24% to 10 to 16%. But our parts companies, which have been in business for 60 years, have a current operating profit margin of 3%, and you're still making 10 to 16%. This is an incredibly good company. Why did the stock price drop like this? Your competitors' products are a hit, so isn't that capitalism? When your competitors' products come out, you can't compete with Chinese competitors. So you just suck your thumb. Eli Lilly's anti-obesity drug, Zepbound, has overtaken Wegovy and is leading the US market with a 53.3% share. Zepbound has shown a greater weight loss effect than Wegovy in clinical trials. That's the world. Whether it's pharmaceuticals, auto parts, or semiconductors, if your product becomes more competitive, you'll be pushed out. Isn't that a huge deal? Yes, it was a huge hit when it was released in 2021, but in 2023, Eli Lilly, a leading US healthcare company, launched Zepbound, an anti-obesity drug, and devoured your entire market. That's a loss. The stock price has plummeted by 128 trillion won. Plus, the CEO has changed. By 2025, Novo Nordisk's stock price had already fallen by 44%. 44%. Novo Nordisk shares fell 44%, taking another hit from their June high of $615 billion, shedding $310 billion in market value. Novo Nordisk's special offer expired, and it appears there's a company called Jeff Want and another company called Text. Competition is the main cause of the stock price drop. The world is a war. If you lose your mind and think about playing in that war, you'll just suck your thumb. It's pointless. It's too unfair. We don't have this. The market is just a place to give out report cards. If you think like the conservatives and the education people who think we should abolish tests to protect our children from competition, your children will live their entire lives as your slaves. Hello, everyone. Novo Nordisk, the pride of Europe's top companies, was pushed out by Boundra, the US-based Eli Relief, and lost 128 trillion won in just one day. Hello, this is Gong Byung-ho TV has been working to restore election fairness and preserve and develop the free democratic system. To ensure that these efforts can continue, we are introducing Gong Byung-ho TV's electric sponsorship program and member program. We ask for your interest and participation. If you are a viewer who supports the efforts to restore election fairness and participate in creating a great country, you can join the regular sponsorship program by clicking the sign up button right next to the subscription button. By clicking the sign up button, you will become a sponsor of Gong Byung-ho TV. Your support will not only strengthen our efforts to restore election fairness, but also protect and advance the liberal democratic system, becoming a light and salt in the lives of you and your descendants. In particular, Gong Byung-ho TV has endured, and continues to face, limitations to its growth in its efforts to ensure election fairness. Nevertheless, because this is such a critical issue, Gong Byung-ho TV's efforts will continue. We ask for your continued support. Thank you.